So, Tommy, what led to that bashing on The View?
Well, there is a woman over the weekend who took it upon herself to research my family history in hopes of digging up some kind of a gotcha moment, a gotcha angle to validate illegal immigration and open borders. And what she found was really shocking, guys. She found that my family who came here in the 1800s from Norway and Germany, that they spoke Norwegian and German.
Okay.
And really what she did is prove that my family came here legally, but what she was hoping to do was try to call me a hypocrite for believing in merit-based immigration.
What if I told you The View just morphed into a full-blown ancestry smackdown with a spicy political twist? In true soap opera style, Sunny Hostin came for Tomi Lahren like she was holding a secret weapon, digging up her great-great-grandparents' immigration records like it was some kind of knockout punch. Bold move, Sunny. Real bold, but instead of knocking Tomi down, she handed her the MIC and the spotlight on a silver platter. Tomi didn't flinch, just flipped the whole thing in her favor. Cool as ever, what was meant to drag her down turned into the ultimate plot twist moment on live TV.
That immigrants come over here and they don't know anything and they're dragging us down because we all come from immigrants, including you, Tomi Lahren.
She talks about low skills. What exactly are her skills?
Her second great-grandmother had been here for 10 years, yet spoke no English. Oh my gosh. 1930 census says Tommy's 3 times great-grandmother had been here for 41 years and still spoke German. She didn't speak English either. She doesn't even know her own history. She certainly doesn't know this country.
Now the question is, who really got exposed? Oh, you have to see it. It all started like your average policy convo: immigration, borders, adult talk, laws. You know the drill, but out of nowhere, Sunny decided to throw history books into the mix and tried to drop a bomb with Tommy's ancestors like it was the smoking gun. But I mean seriously, yelling your great-great-grandma didn't speak English on national TV? That ain't debate. That's just messy drama dressed up as politics. Sunny really thought she hit the jackpot, like she just uncovered the ancient scrolls of conservative contradiction. She walked in glowing, chest high, grinning like she cracked the Da Vinci Code of political hypocrisy, all because she found out Tomi Lahren's great-great-whatever relatives from Norway didn't speak English. Girl, what? She acted like that was the MIC drop of the decade. But instead, that MIC bounced off Tommy's high slick ponytail and smacked Sunny right in the face, like a boomerang from the universe. Pure humiliation. Then came the line that left everyone blinking.
I did with DNA, 23andMe, because I cannot believe the detail on your background that they were able to get.
Well, I don't have to. She did all the research for me, so I'm sure my family is very appreciative.
What about Joy saying, though, what are your skills? It's beyond research. It is personal. It is mean.
Well, of course, this is classical Joy Behar, but I would like to ask Joy Behar what her skills are, because perhaps we could swap stories. I know I watch Joy, and she seems like a highly skilled lady, but for her to attack me, that's really interesting. Those in glass houses should not throw stones.
What is it about you that bothers him so much? Thrown into the air like it meant something deep, but Tomi? Not even a twitch. Not a single muscle moved, Botox or not. That woman didn't flinch. Instead, she took Sunny Scotcha and calmly flipped it into a slow-mo political takedown. Yeah, her ancestors didn't speak English, because duh, they were European immigrants in the 1800s, but they came here legally, followed the rules, worked hard, and didn't rely on hashtags or handouts to survive. Bottom line, Tomi turned a petty dig into a full-on immigration lecture. And did it in heels, with a smirk, like a woman who wouldn't be caught dead wearing flats to a fight. Meanwhile, Sunny looked like she just got slapped by her own cue cards. The second she dragged Tommy's family tree into the mix, she accidentally handed Tomi her favorite talking points on a silver platter: legal immigration, merit-based systems, personal responsibility, you name it. Sunny came to a policy fight with a pile of genealogy papers and ended up buried under a mountain of historical receipts. But wait, it didn't stop there, because what's a messy political moment without Twitter going nuclear? The timeline went up in flames like overpriced avocado toast under a heat lamp. Suddenly, everybody with a flag emoji in their bio became an Ellis Island expert, screaming in all caps, swapping memes, and pretending they read immigration laws for breakfast.
What is it about you that bothers him so much?
Well, it's not just me, it's anybody who advocates for merit-based immigration or has an issue with open borders. And again, just like you said, they don't seem to understand that we on the right believe in immigration. We understand that we are a nation of immigrants, and I am proud of my heritage. However, I do believe that the immigration crisis of today is apples to oranges from what it was in the 1800s when immigrants came to this country legally, were documented, worked for themselves, asked for nothing, and built a life and a family. That has nothing to do with the illegal immigration crisis of today that we must deal with. But they don't want to acknowledge that.
Just when the chaos felt like it couldn't get any louder, enter Greg Gutfeld, Fox News version of a stand-up comic stuck in a civics class. Greg didn't miss a beat. He took Sunny's ancestry deep dive and turned it into a full-on comedy roast. He clowned her like, "Girl, how you gonna play family detective when you probably haven't even filled out your own family tree?" Then, with a smirk, he tossed in the ultimate jab, suggesting Sunny's ancestors probably didn't stroll into the US carrying the Constitution in an English textbook either. And if we're going full DNA duel here, Sunny might want to scan her own branches before tossing acorns at someone else's roots. Greg's bit hit hard. A not-so-subtle reminder that if you're going to start airing family history on live TV, you'd better be real sure your own tree doesn't come with a twisty little scandal of its own, because let's be real, the audience ain't clueless. They see right through the theatrics. Nobody's buying the idea that a serious immigration debate should suddenly revolve around how well someone's great-great-grandpapa could pronounce opportunity. It's not policy. That's deflection in a fancy outfit.
Folks, I have heard a lot of dumb crap come out of blue states, but this one is a real doozy. Get this. As of January 1st, New Jersey teachers will no longer be required to pass a basic literacy test. I kid you not.
Back at The View, things were spiraling fast. Producers were probably sweating bullets, praying for a commercial break to save what was left of the segment. Meanwhile, viewers were sitting there confused like, is this a political discussion or the pilot episode of Real Housewives, Capitol Hill? It felt like a family reunion that went completely off the rails. Sunny tried to personalize the debate, but ended up making herself the headline. Again, and Tomi? She didn't budge. If anything, she doubled down, sticking to her usual script like her publicist wrote it on her mirror that morning. Legal equals good, emotional guilt trips equals bad. And whether you love her politics or not, one thing's for sure, Tomi's got discipline. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't cut anyone off, she just sat there giving major statue vibes, cold, confident, and locked in on her talking points like a heat-seeking missile, all while Sunny's argument started collapsing under its own moral weight. Then came the split-screen chaos. Online viewers picked sides, as always. The Tomi Hive crowned her the queen of cold-blooded comebacks. Meanwhile, Sunny's fans praised her for having the guts to drag ancestry into the spotlight. One side swore this was all about immigration policy. The other shouted it was deeply personal. And the rest of us, we were just out here begging anyone, to define merit-based immigration without turning it into a lecture on colonialism or vibes. It's honestly kind of poetic.
I started out at One America News with an 80-something-year-old male boss who called me a bimbo pretty freely. That was a different experience. I went to The Blaze and I worked for Glenn Beck, who I had to end up getting in a lawsuit with because he tried to fire me for saying I was pro-choice when I went on The View. So it's been a different experience at those other networks.
Every time The View touches a real issue, it somehow spirals into a messy emotional battlefield. Immigration, one of the most complex and serious conversations out there, got reduced to just another petty personality war. And why? Because Sunny thought dragging Tomi's last name into the ring would land her a viral MIC drop. Instead, it blew up, just not in the way she hoped. Here's the thing, Sunny could have made a real point. She could have talked about how assimilation ain't a straight line, how every immigrant story hits different, how English fluency isn't some badge of worth. That would have landed. But nah, she went for the clickbait, she chased a headline. And she got one, just not the kind you frame. The kind where you're getting ratioed into another dimension by Twitter users with dog PFPs and 1776 in their handles.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions?
Yeah.
Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist.
And the wildest part, Tomi didn't even have to go savage. She just let Sunny unravel, no raised voice, no wild clapback. Just calm eyes and a perfectly timed pivot into her usual TED Talk on the American dream, legal immigration, and why merit still matters. It was like watching someone elegantly sidestep a puddle while the other person faceplants right into it. To be why the time the cameras cut to commercial, the regret in the air was thick. You could almost hear the liberal panic echoing through the green room walls even. Joy Behar looked like she wanted to hide behind her giant glasses and teleport out of there, because when your attack ends up making your opponent more sympathetic, yeah, you didn't just miss. You lost the entire script, but let's not play pretend here. This wasn't just two women arguing on daytime TV. It was a full-blown reminder that political debates now feel like high school cafeteria food fights. You don't win serious arguments by pulling up someone's ancestry records. You win by actually saying something that makes sense, not with a side dish of petty DNA digs. Real talk. Immigration is personal. It's raw. It's tied to family, fear, ambition, and the whole idea of belonging. But the second you start throwing someone's great-great-grandparents into the ring just to land a cheap jab, you're not making a point. You're setting the whole conversation on fire and dancing in the ashes.
Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from Europe. Here's how she took the...
And just when you thought the circus had left town, the fallout exploded. Think pieces dropped like TikToks. Everyone with a blog had an opinion. Some crowned Sunny a truth warrior. Others said she crossed a line sharper than Meghan McCain's winged eyeliner. Meanwhile, Tomi? She played it smart, hit the interview circuit, dropped memes of herself with Lady Liberty, flipped Sunny's attack into a straight-up campaign commercial. Free press. Free clout. Zero sweat. And let's not forget Gutfeld. Oh, he lived for this. He didn't just break down Sunny's logic, he flamethrowed it. Classic Gutfeld move. Drag, roast, sprinkle sarcasm, and serve it with that signature smirk. He tore into Sunny's ancestry ambush like it was open mic night at a roast battle. Dragged her for trying to weaponize Tomi Lahren's family tree while conveniently skipping over her own. According to Gutfeld, digging into someone's lineage for clout is bold, especially when your own ancestry isn't exactly tied up in a cute little bow of flawless assimilation.
Oh, I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah. He cracked that Sunny's logic was like chucking a rock inside a glass house, blindfolded. If we're going to start this ancestry mudslinging, he quipped, maybe check your own branches for snakes first. Then came the real jab, the irony of Sunny, a loud voice for compassion and open arms, suddenly playing immigration gatekeeper because of someone's great-great-grandparents. The switch-up was loud. And the internet? It lit up like a match dropped in hairspray. Gutfeld's clip spread like wildfire, turning into a viral roast session with a political twist. He closed the whole thing by saying, the View isn't even about real policy anymore, just ancestral cosplay with a laugh track. OOF. And in that one-liner, Sunny didn't just lose the round, she became the punchline to the joke she was trying to tell. Meanwhile, everyday viewers were left asking, how did we go from discussing border security to arguing about someone's German-speaking great-uncle from 1873? This is the reality of TV politics now, where facts are optional but drama is non-negotiable. Don't bring ancestry to a policy fight. Especially not when your target has built a whole brand off flipping backlash into fuel. Sunny reached for the past, hoping to land a punch, but all she did was hand Tomi the perfect stage to shine in the present. And let's not ignore the cherry on top of this hypocrisy Sunday. Just imagine, if Tomi had flipped the script and gone after Sunny's roots the same way.
I have a question of my own. Do you lock your doors at home? In your residence, do you have a lock on your door? Do you use that lock?
I do, yeah, I do.
You have an alarm?
And why is that? You lock your door. You lock your door because you want to know who's coming into your home. It's not because you hate the people outside. It's because you love the people inside. Well, that's what needs to be done with the United States of America. That's why we have a border. We have a right to know who's coming into our country and why. That's what keeps us.
The outrage would have been instant. Headlines screaming racism. Think pieces flooding timelines. Cancel hashtags trending by lunch. You'd have protest signs in Times Square and NPR already recording a 12-part podcast titled The Roots of Hate. But when Sunny does it, suddenly it's context. please. That's the world we're in, where the performance swallows the message whole. The louder the delivery, the less anyone's actually listening. And Tomi, like her or not, she walked straight into the View's lion's den, had her family dragged on national TV, and somehow came out with more fans than she walked in with. Meanwhile, Sunny got claps from her usual corner, but everywhere else, shrugs, eye rolls, cringe, not because she didn't have a point, but because she turned what could have been powerful into something petty. What should have hit like a message, landed like a meltdown. So congrats, The View, you've once again taken a critical national topic and turned it into an episode of Political Gossip Hour. Immigration deserves better, viewers deserve better, heck, even daytime TV deserves better, but until someone raises the bar, we'll keep watching these train wrecks, popcorn in hand, laughing through the chaos.
Why do you think you've resonated with so many people?
I think, in large part, I represent middle America. So you've got the two coasts, and those individuals seem to kind of just talk to each other. And then you've got all of middle America right there that's dying to have a voice. They don't really feel like they have one. They're not represented, beyond their communities. So I think they watch me and they say, well, she speaks like I do. She thinks like I do. She seems to maybe get it like I do. And I think that's why it's resonated. And also, I do something very different. There's not a whole lot of young conservative women out there. And so I provide that for a lot.
'Cause what else can you do when political debate starts looking like a game of Guess That Ancestor? We've officially lost the plot. This wasn't really about Tomi. It wasn't really about Sunny either. It was what happens when ideology collides with insecurity, when valid points get buried under petty jabs, and when somehow Greg Gutfeld ends up sounding like the voice of reason. Yeah. Let that sink in. Beyond the dramatic eye rolls and daytime table slaps, this mess exposed something deeper, just how far immigration talk has drifted from actual policy. This wasn't a real debate on border laws. It wasn't even about reform. It was a culture war in a Halloween costume, dressed up like a discussion immigration. It's gone from paperwork to pure identity politics, no longer about green cards. Now it's about green lighting, who gets to define what being American even means, and The View, that show's turned into a gladiator pit for this weekly identity showdown. Less about substance, more about scoring the perfect viral burn in 60 seconds or less. Bonus points if it looks good on TikTok. You could almost hear the interns backstage lining up hashtags before Sunny even finished her sentence. This wasn't political commentary. It was Real Housewives Policy Edition, starring Sunny with her ancestry receipts and Tomi with a cold-blooded rebuttal ready to go.
If Democrats really want to die on the hill of bringing back plane loads of criminal, illegal alien gang members...
But you haven't proven that they're criminals.
Please,
that's the problem.
Be my guest.
Honestly, look, I will be the first one to say, if there is a...
If Democrats really want to die on the hill of bringing back plane loads of criminal, illegal alien gang, you haven't proven that they're criminals. That's the problem. Honestly, look, I'll be the first one to say, if there is a, and here's the kicker. When one side weaponizes family roots, and the other fires back with a perfectly polished merit-based immigration TED Talk, what we get isn't clarity. It's a bizarre mashup of trauma bait meets economic sermon, and somehow, everyone ends up talking past each other while the internet eats it up like popcorn. Sunny brought the emotions, Tomi brought the receipts, and both left thinking they'd landed the knockout punch. Meanwhile, the real question, how do we actually fix America's immigration system, was left wheezing under a pile of viral tweets and spicy Instagram story rants. Let's be real, this wasn't a real conversation. It was political theater dressed up like daytime TV at a made-for-clip showdown with applause signs and snack breaks. People aren't tuning in to hear ideas. They're tuning in to see who gets dragged, who breaks first, and whose face ends up in a meme by lunchtime. This isn't about understanding anymore. It's about going viral. And The View, they've mastered the playbook. Bring on someone controversial, drop a loaded question like a grenade, and let the chaos do the work. By the time Twitter catches fire, the show's already cut to commercial. Same formula, different headline. You could literally sync your Apple Watch to it. Sunny makes it personal, Tomi counters with policy, and in the end,